Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to convene the City of Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. Call it to order. Today is Wednesday, July 20th, 2022. It is about 5:10 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Roth? Here. Board Member Bailey? Here. Board Member Fletcher? Is he here?
He was online.
Board Member Fletcher? Board Member Avila? Here. Vice Chairman Guzman? Here. Chairman Losner?
Here. Madam Director, are there any deletions or deferrals on tonight's agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, very good. Moving right along, we have the minutes of the June 15th, 2022 meeting before us. I'll entertain a motion for approval of those minutes. Moved by Board Member Bailey. Seconded by Vice Chair Guzman. There's nothing further. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next item is tab 2, card number 3576, a Commercial Enhancement Grant Award, Rodavo Estates, Inc. Mr. Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an award of Commercial Enhancement Grant Program funds, approving a grant agreement, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Driver?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On December 8, 2020, the CRA Board approved Resolution CRA 2020-12-12, adopting the revised guidelines for the CRA Commercial Enhancement Grant Program. The program furthers the goals of the CRA plan by improving properties that will enhance CRA's rebuilding program. Staff recommends the CRA Board approve a Commercial Enhancement Grant Award for Rodavo Estates, Inc. for the maximum allowable amount of $25,000. Rodavo Estates is located at 800 North Flagler Avenue, Homestead, Florida 33030. The location of the building makes it eligible for a 75% contribution by the CRA and a 25% contribution by the applicant. Rodavo is requesting that we provide them a grant so they can improve their landscaping and change out the signs on their business. A couple of things I would like to point out. The first is the signs. We have made the owner aware that any new signage that goes up must be in compliance with our city code. So we should not have any signs that are outside of our code on the building once this project is complete. I think that was an amen to what I just said. And then the second thing I wanted to make you all aware of is that this application and then the one following did not go before the SWAC. Usually the SWAC reviews the grants and recommends approval or denial. We were unable to go before SWAC because of lack of quorum. So in following with our past traditions, we are bringing these grants directly to you for approval. So with that said, that's all for this one, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any initial questions or comments from the council? Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Driver, I'm in full support of, approving this grant because I think the signs can be enhanced, the signs that are there. What type of signs are they going to install? Are they going to be channel letters? Are they going to be mounted? Are they going to be individual?
I believe the proposals reflected lighted box signage, not individually backlit letters, but box signage.
That is correct. It is the box signs, and I was looking in here because I thought there was a picture in your packet. Yeah, there is a picture in your packet, but it is the box, as the chair said, box signage.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I know there's a representative of the applicant present. Is there anything further from the applicant before we go forward with any further questions? Okay.
No, she wishes not to speak
All right,
unless you have a question.
All right. No. We're we're thumbing through at the moment, trying to find the rendering of the type of sign. Here it is. It's the black and white,
Okay, okay,
something like that,
got it.
light box. Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Board Member Bailey,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Guzman. There are no further questions. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. Look forward to the improvements. All right. Next item is car number 3580, residential rehabilitation grant for 133 Northwest 2nd Street. Mr. Pearl?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an award of residential rehabilitation grant program facade improvement grant funds, approving grant agreement, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Driver?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On May 17, 2010, the CRA Board approved Resolution CRA 2010-05-04, creating the Residential Facade Repair Grant Program. Staff recommends that the CRA Board approve the attached resolution authorizing the allocation of a residential rehabilitation grant in the amount of up to $15,000 to J.W. Larkin and Kimberly Larkin at 133 Northwest 2nd Street, Homestead, Florida 33030. The grant award will be used for shutters and a fence. Again, this did not go before SWAC because of lack of quorum.
Good, thank you. Is the applicant, are the applicants present?
Yes, sir. The applicant, Mrs. Larkin, is here.
Okay, well, all right, thank you for being here. Is there anything you would like to add? If so, please come to the podium. If not, we understand. We have all the information in front of us.
On behalf of my family and myself, I just want to say thank you.
Right. Thank you, appreciate that. Okay. Any questions or comments from council? Is there anyone in the audience or online wishing to speak to this matter? We'll close the public hearing then and ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Moved by the vice chair. Seconded by Board Member Bailey. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Congratulations. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes. Where did that come from? Oh, Board Member Roth. Fletcher, yes. The disembodied voice. Go ahead, Board Member Fletcher.
yeah, just for the record, I am on the line.
Appreciate it. Thanks for chiming in. All right. And record you as an affirmative vote on that matter?
That is correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. Next item is tab 4, car number 3488, CRA loan. Mr. Pearl?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Tab 4 is a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing staff to submit a request to Miami-Dade County to borrow monies pledging tax increment revenue as collateral, authorizing the issuance of a request for proposals for the financing terms, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Driver?
The interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County for the Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency requires the approval of the Homestead CRA Council and Miami-Dade Board of County Commissioners to borrow funds. The HCRA desires to seek county approval to pledge a portion of its tax increment revenue as collateral for a loan to cover costs associated with property acquisition, relocation, and construction related to development of projects in downtown and areas adjacent to the South Dade Transitway. The $3.9 million up to $6.5 million bonding capacity range assumes a November bond issuance rate of 4.53% and thus takes into account all the rate increases expected by the Treasury over the next several months. Available annual debt service ranging between $300,000 and $500,000 and a 20-year term. Staff recommends the Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency Board approve the attached resolution authorizing the executive director to, number one, submit a request to Miami-Dade County for authorization to borrow funds from a private source for the identified purposes and to give such security as may be required. And number two, to issue a request for proposals to identify the best terms available for the proposed loan of 3.9 up to 6.5 million, which will be secured solely by a pledge of the tax increment revenues generated within the redevelopment area. Terms of any loan and property acquisition will come back to the board for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Driver. Any initial questions or comments from the board? Okay, and just to clarify, is this an effective characterization? So potential projects have been identified, but before we can go any further, we have to have county approval for borrowing. This is not approving a borrowing, this is not approving a project, this is just the first steps in laying the groundwork for some projects that are contemplated.
That is a
But
correct-
without this first step, we can go no further.
That is a correct
Just
characterization.
want to be,
Yes.
but to be clear to the public,
Yes.
this is not an actual borrowing.
That is
It may
correct.
never happen. This is just obtaining authorization as required by the county.
That is correct.
All right, very good, thank you. Nothing further from the board. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Moved by Board Member Bailey, seconded by Vice Chair Guzman. Anything further? Is there any member of the public that would wish to speak on this matter? So I'll close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Is that an aye for an aye or aye for opposed?
Aye for an
Thank you. We had some time delay there. Just wanted to be sure. Okay. So next item is tab 5, car number 3555, right-of-way acquisition and relocation supportive services. Mr. Pearl?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Tab 5 is a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving a professional services agreement with Glass Land Services Specialists, Inc., providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Mr. Pearl, Ms. Driver?
Thank you. The Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency, in concert with the City of Homestead, is evaluating federal funds that may be available to support a redevelopment project located within the boundary of the Homestead CRA. This redevelopment project will require the acquisition of certain parcels. As federal funds may be utilized to fund a portion of the project, the CRA and the city intend to acquire real estate and relocate eligible parties in accordance with current state and federal rules and regulations and Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, policies, procedures, and directives. Staff have evaluated a number of potential right-of-way acquisition and relocation consultants and recommend that the HCRA Board authorize the city manager to enter into a professional services agreement with Glass Land Acquisition Services Specialists, Inc. for right-of-way acquisition and relocation supportive services for an amount not to exceed $672,500.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Vice Chair?
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Driver, have we used Glass Land Acquisition Services before in the past?
The city has not, however, Mr. Glass is here. If you all would like to direct any questions to him, I can have him come forward and he can speak to their experience.
Sure.
And- okay. Mr. Richard Glass.
Thank you for coming tonight, Mr. Glass. Give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Richard Glass. My business address is 6401 Southwest 87th Avenue, Suite. My name is Richard Glass. My business address is 6401 Southwest 87th Avenue, Suite 112, Miami, Florida 33173. I'm the president of Glassland Acquisition Service Specialists. We were founded 27 years ago last Friday, as a matter of fact. Would you like to hear a little bit about my background? Actually, I can go as far back and then I'll skip forward. I was born in James Archer Smith Hospital, the old one. I figure I'll wind up there eventually again. My family came down from Boston here in Florida City and Homestead area in 1943. Very few remain because of age and the rest. I started in real estate in 1978. I was the youngest real estate salesperson in Florida at the time. A year later, because you had to wait a year, I was the youngest broker in Florida. So again, that was last century in 1978. 1983, I joined the Florida Department of Transportation on an entry-level position. Within 5 years, I became the manager of that department. And I was in charge of the right-of-way program, which is acquisition and relocation, and other duties within the Miami-Dade and Monroe area for about 8 years. Then I thought I was young enough and smart enough to start my own company, and here we are 27 years later. We carry over a dozen contracts in the state. We're very select in what we do. Everything that we do, whether federally funded or not, we do under the federal program, under the Uniform Act, and that's what we intend to do here. We actually did, in fact, participate very, very briefly on some very short litigation that you all won previously. So we're happy to be here again, happy to be home personally, happy to be home professionally, though I never left the South Dade area. Born and raised here, never left.
Thank you. Excellent. Nice to hear that you were born at James Archer Smith Hospital and you're back in Homestead. I've noticed that you've got a relocation fee of $587,500. I just kind of wanted to get an understanding of how that number is comprised.
That's based on the number of relocatees. So our intent with the fee proposal is based on a unit rate, of course, work an hour, bill an hour, right? And then the number of relocatees. So when you do that equation, that's how you get to that number. If it's 5 relocatees, then it's much less, obviously.
Got it. And do you come across any obstacles where you're having a hard time relocating that stops the project from moving forward or stops the process for us to get to the B part of the project?
We've never had that problem. Our policy, our practice is to establish a pure rapport with the relocatee or the person that we need to buy the property from the very beginning. We establish trust in that. We have them understand the program and their opportunities, and usually that breaks through. Every relocatee that we've ever done in 27 years, and then in my 13 years with the department, I never experienced an appeal of relocation benefits. And of course, with acquisition, use of eminent domain is prominent within what I do for business. And in fact, I am the designated client representative for the Miami-Dade Expressway Authority for their entire system here. I also participated in a lot of litigation as a department employee. So we use the same thing. Even in litigation, you're still establishing a rapport even with the attorneys who can be difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
So we've been pretty successful. I don't think I'd be here 27 years plus later if we're not. We carry a number of contracts around the state of Florida, mostly focusing in South Florida because that's where I live, and I don't like to travel that much except by truck or car.
Okay. So do you consider this to be a small agreement and it could go up to as big as any city desires? How do you typically look at small or big? And are you doing similar services now in another part of the county?
We're providing similar services. Other part of the county, we're actually starting in Okeechobee Road, Okeechobee 4 as they call it, for the Florida Department of Transportation. We're currently finishing a project, a new interchange on Oslo Road in Indian River County. We're working St. Lucie County, extending for development, actually Kings Highway. And we're working, one of our niche markets actually is writing eminent domain lawsuits. So for the DOT here in District 6, we're probably working 8 other projects. With the Miami-Dade Expressway Authority, we're working on the 83618, the Kendall Parkway. We're their representative for that acquisition. We've purchased over 400 acres from willing sellers. We're not quite into the eminent domain. Do I consider this a small contract? This is an important contract. I don't consider anything large or small. When we get involved, we get involved. And again, the fee proposed is based on a number of relocatees. If that number doesn't happen, then that contract price never gets to that level.
And is it the same process with residential when compared to commercial?
Not typically, because there's different qualifications and there's certain benefits through the Uniform Act that commercial and residential get. In move costs and rebuild, there's opportunities. For example, if you had a hair salon, that's not a typical commercial move, right? Because you have plumbing and special electrical that needs to be done. So it depends on the type of business. With residential, it depends on the number of family members and their needs also. They're elderly, or they're handicapped, how many children, and then it qualifies in how many bedrooms. Someone can be living, 5 people can be living in a 1-bedroom apartment right now, but the federal regulations don't allow the replacement site to be that same size for a family of 5. So that goes through the analysis.
Thank you. I'll rest there, sir.
Anything for Council, Board Member Bailey?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for all that information. I'm just curious with, I'm sure that some of these buildings would have different families in there that qualify for different things. So I'm assuming then you work with different agencies, if there's different things that the families can qualify for.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Our prime relocation agents have many years of experience, all Spanish speaking, and one, Soraya Fabian in particular, has done relocation for probably 20 years now.
Okay.
And she knows all the ins and outs as well as other staff members, Blanca Guardia, and that I can name them all off, but
Okay.
you don't want to hear that. So.
And each family would have to approve the place that they are moving to.
Yes, it
Okay.
needs to be what we call DS&S, which is decent, safe, and sanitary, and we actually have to inspect it and approve it. If it's
Okay.
not, they cannot go there.
And in your price, moving costs are covered? Or that would be on the family?
The price is for staff fees, not for relocation costs itself.
Okay. How does that typically happen?
I'm sorry?
How does that typically happen?
Well, when we meet with the families or individuals, we interview them, then we issue them a notice of benefits, and then we have to go through the program to see what they qualify for. If someone is an illegal alien, then unfortunately they don't qualify for anything, but we'll help them anyways. Part of relocation, or most of relocation, is really advisory services, talking to people, making them okay with where they're going, providing services, even if it's services that the city doesn't provide, we locate services for them. So if you talk to anybody in relocation, the first and foremost in relocation is advisory services. The money comes later, and that's through a strict program.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Any other board member? Any questions? Sure, Vice Chair.
How does the city go out to solicit your services?
We were actually referred to the city, and actually, I'm sorry, Kamitra, I humbly apologize, but we actually worked on the auto store on Maury, west of Chrome Avenue, during that time, and also the neighborhood stabilization program recently gave us a contract. So the word got out that we're around, and we're pretty doggone good. So,
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, just a point, they were recommended by Weiss-Serota, but we actually went out to two additional groups to get quotes, if I'm not mistaken. And Glass was the preferred vendor we wanted to use.
So just for point of reference, though, this is a fee for 26 units, is that correct? Potentially 26 units, 26 families and one piece of commercial?
That is correct, 26 families and then one commercial.
We're also assisting in the acquisition program also.
Pardon?
We're assisting with the acquisition of the real estate also as part of that fee.
Okay, because, yeah, I'm looking at this and thinking that fee divided among 26 units seems to be pretty significant. So we're kind of often, I guess, in lieu of engaging, you know, a buyer's broker or realtor to go out, that you're kind of acting as that as well, and that's one lump sum. So if you were to go out to assist us in procuring a purchase contract, would there be a fee in addition to that?
It's part of this.
It's
It's part of this, yes.
Okay, all right, that makes it much more,
In anything that we do having to do with real estate or relocation, we do not charge
okay,
real estate commissions at all.
all right. Very good. And the first thing I wanted to comment on is, I guess you and I are old enough to know what the expression means, were you born in a barn? And we both were, since we both came from James Archer Smith Hospital.
Yes. You were born there also?
Yeah, after you.
Yeah. Oh,
After you.
I will agree with that, sir.
And I just realized who you were when you said Florida City. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's who that is. Okay. All right, anything further from council? Or, go ahead. Board member?
Thank you,
Avila?
Chair. How long, my understanding is you're at 100% success rate, based on what you mentioned. How long does it take for you to get them to agree and for the relocations to complete? What's our timeline on this?
What we have is we have a scheduling system based on the needs of the city and the CRA when the relocatees need to be relocated or moved, and we work in that. If we have 6 months, if we can get them out in a month, that's fine. If we have 6 months or 4 months, we will meet that goal.
And if you end up needing more time, do you add more fees?
We won't need more time, so I'm going to say no to that. We will not.
Thank you.
If you add 50 relocatees to the contract, perhaps I'll come back then, yes.
Understood. Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone in the public wishing to speak on this matter? I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Board Member Bailey. Seconded by Vice Chair Guzman. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, the motion carries.
I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments from the board? Anything further, Mr. Manager, on this item?
No, Mayor.
Madam Director?
No, sir.
Mr. Attorney? And no further public comments? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the CRE meeting. All in favor? Aye. All right, we will reconvene in about 10 minutes for the Committee of the Whole meeting. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, July 20th, 2022, and it is 5:55 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey? Here. Councilman Rawl? Here. Councilwoman Avila? Here. Councilman Fletcher? Councilman Fletcher? Vice Mayor Guzman? Here. Mayor Lawson?
Here. All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager, any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
Mayor, staff would like to defer tab 16, car number 3579, FDOT assessment of Campbell Drive and North Flagler Avenue and Northeast First Road. We'd like to defer that to a later date.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to defer that item? Do we have a second? It's been moved by Councilwoman Avila, seconded by Councilman Roth. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, very good. That was easy enough. Okay, we have before us the minutes of June 15th, 2022 for approval. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Vice Mayor. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item is tab 2. It's a motion to place car number 3588 on the council agenda. Adoption of proposed operating millage rate and debt millage rate for fiscal year 2023. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council adopt the attached resolution providing that, 1, a proposed operating millage rate of 6.2055 per $1,000 of assessed value of ad valorem taxation for real and personal property within the City of Homestead. This millage rate is the same as last year's operating millage and is to be implemented beginning on October 1st, 2022 and ending on September 30th, 2023. Second, a proposed voted debt millage rate of 0.3550 per $1,000 of assessed value of ad valorem taxation for real and personal property within the City of Homestead. This millage rate reflects a 0.0600 reduction from last year's debt millage rate of 0.4150 mils and is to be implemented beginning on October 1st, 2022 and ending on September 30th, 2023. Budget impact. At a gross taxable value of $4,360,611,776, an operating millage rate of 6.2055 mils will yield an ad valorem revenue for the city of $22,947,743 and for the CRA agency of $2,759,045 for a total of $25,706,788. 2, at a gross taxable value of $4,360,611,776, a debt millage rate of 0.3550 mils will yield revenue at a debt service of $1,470,616. Section 200.081 Florida statutes limits the maximum operating millage rate that municipalities may levy to 10 mils. Tentative first budget hearing date will be Tuesday, September 6, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. Tentative final budget hearing date will be Wednesday, September 21st, 2022 at 5:01 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any initial questions or comments from council? Councilwoman Avila.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm fine with the proposal, but I want to just say to everyone that I'm going to continue to keep my focus to be for supporting our police, our Parks Department, and our process for development services. So those will remain to be my focuses during this budget season. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Roth.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So just so I understand, you're not asking for anything above what we did last year. So we're already anticipating no tax millage rate increase.
That is correct, Councilman. No tax millage rate increase.
Okay, so with that said, and we make that decision tonight not to raise the millage rate at all for the purposes of going through our budget process, do we have anticipated revenues that exceed last year's so we can continue to add services without adding to the millage rate?
Yes, sir. Right now, we sat down with finance. We have a meeting. Had a meeting. We're very comfortable with the numbers, and we can add the additional services and staffing that we've been looking at.
Yeah, because once we lock this number tonight, if I understand it, as we've done in the past, we can't change it.
You are correct. We can only lower it. We cannot raise it.
Right. So, because we will have some discussions on police department budget, adding more police officers to the force, and I don't want to have to sit back here in a month or two and say, well, we didn't have an opportunity to raise the millage rate to provide additional services to our city and not be able to add officers and the other things that we need for Park and Recs to the general fund. So I just want to be clear that once we set this, that I would hate to come back and say, well, you guys told us one thing and we don't have this extra money in the budget to do these things and add these services. So just a cautionary statement, that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Roth. Vice Mayor Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask if finance has or can speak in relation to how inflation affects the millage rate. Because I think what happens is inflation at its current rate, I think it's the highest it's ever been in, I don't know, 40 years. So even though it's not going up, people are still paying more money. Does finance do a report in relation to see the difference? For example, if last year's inflation rate was at a normal 3% compared to this year's inflation rate at 10%, how does that affect the average homeowner in terms of property taxes?
Is it on? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman, not necessarily, because as far as the millage rate and the property values, those are assessed by the county. They're the ones that determine the values. As far as how it impacts our budget, yes, as every department is putting together their budget, obviously inflation affects contracts that they're getting estimates for it and everything like that, and that's something that's being considered as far as do we have enough revenues to balance all those expenditures and those increased costs.
Okay, so if we were talking to the general public and they and they ask us a question about are we raising taxes, and we say at this point we're not, and somebody says, well, does inflation have anything to do with, we can simply answer not at all, because these rates or the taxable value is created by the county, not by us.
You're generating additional revenues. By keeping the millage rate the same, you still are generating additional revenues because property values have gone up. That will go to a lot of the increases that we're seeing in all the different budgets that the departments are putting together.
Okay.
Property values have gone up, so even though we're keeping the millage rate the same, you are still generating additional revenues that are covering all those inflationary impacts to everybody's budget.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Roth?
Thank you. Let me just add on to that, too. The average homeowner right now will experience a minimum of a 3% or maximum of a 3% increase no matter what we do up here. And if we raise the millage rate, then it would increase it even higher. So there's a cap that the county can levy on a homesteaded property of 3% for owners that live in their houses, and for investors, it's a maximum of 10%. So those that own property, that invest in property and rent them out, obviously have a bigger exposure to the increases. The argument of inflation, though, is a good one, although we have no control over that. You know, the taxes are the taxes. Taxes aren't affected, I don't think, by inflation whatsoever. What affects the residents is cost of living. You know, the taxes are pretty much set. You can have a 3% increase, depending on what the county does. But, you know, when the cost of gas goes up, cost of food goes up, obviously there's less money for them to spend on other things, and it affects, you know, everybody's household when it comes to that. So I just want to, you know, be sure that we don't have any surprises, as I said earlier, and we don't have any preliminary budgets to look at to see that, except for in the general fund, what was it last year that we collected in real estate taxes?
Last year for the general fund, it was approximately $20.3 million. This year, we're estimating $22.9. So you're talking about a $2.5 million in increases in property taxes, which is approximately a 12.6% increase.
That's in revenues to the city, so.
Correct.
And with inflation, when you start to look at the costs that have gone up in everyday life for the city, how much or what percentage of that has increased? Now, we know insurance is a big one. You know, we have no control over that. They come in here and say, we need 25% more in your premiums for the same amount of coverage. But then this year, we're going to have negotiations in COLAs, the cost of living has gone up there. That's going to change a lot of the financial outlook to our budget, just in that aspect. So, and employees are going to, and staff are going to, need raises as well to keep up with inflation. So those are things that I think we need to consider as we, go out, through the evening tonight. So that's all for now, Mayor. I want to hear what they have to say.
And to address your concerns, Councilman, of course, we've taken all of that into account, right? So once again, we've gotten most of our revenue sources already. The numbers are in. We feel very comfortable in keeping the millage rate where it's at. I know the council is looking for additional law enforcement officers. That's being taken into account, as well as certain departments in the general fund are looking for additional staffing. That's being taken into account. So we're in a good place, we're in a comfortable place, and keeping the millage rate as is. Yes, sir.
Question, just for general information. Do we have the breakdown yet on the impact of new construction on our tax base versus just natural increases?
Yeah, out of the total increase, out of the total increase that we had in property values, I would say that new construction represented about probably 4% of the increase, so, which was $155 million in new construction.
That seems low as a percentage, though. But, okay. Well, all right, so what was the overall increase last year to this year?
In total revenues, approximately $2.5 million.
The tax base.
Oh. When the July 1st estimates came out, it's a 16.3% increase. Probably among all the municipalities in Dade County, I think we had the 10th largest increase. There were 9 other municipalities that had higher increases than us.
Okay, appreciate that. There's a lot of information to be found in those little subcategories. Somebody a few minutes ago talked about, let's say, the represents about a 12% increase. Anyway, so if inflation was 9% last year, the 12% increase in revenues more than covers that. And while I had hoped we could reduce our millage rate, because let's not kid ourselves, this is a tax increase of about 9% based on some of the numbers I ran. But again, in light of inflation, just, the costs that we have, plus the upcoming contract renewals, this number gives us that comfort level to finish those negotiations prior to the day we have to adopt the final millage rate. And while I understand it's the politically correct and popular thing to do, I want to be looking for some efficiencies in every department. No department can be exempt, as to the efficiencies in that department. I understand there's inflation, but we've got to find and I want, at final adoption, I'm not going to be on board with keeping it at the same place unless you've demonstrated to me across the board that needs have been met, but efficiencies have been addressed as well. I mean, look, the county's striving to do better than a 1% reduction in their millage rate, and I think, for us, and given our history, remaining flat is the good main headline. But I hope that we can, as we go forward with all these items, tighten it down a little bit more, and have some things sewed up that we can do a little bit little bit better. Of course, too, we also know that the following year, and I guess we don't do two-year budgeting anymore. I know at some point we kind of did that after the meltdown in 2000, the city's meltdown, not that there have been many sales that have not yet gone into the assessment figures, that next year, I would foresee that things that were done earlier this year and up to today are going to even further enhance our tax base in the coming year, just on the used residential alone. That will be a really big deal. So, yes, Mr. Kraft, if there's nothing further, I'll open the public hearing.
Wait, we're not, I've got a question.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with you 100% that if we can, after receiving the report from staff, if we can find a place for them to reduce the millage rate, great. However, I don't want to do it at the expense of not acquiring the additional services or personnel that we need, and also fixing the solid waste problem that we have. Because as we all know, on the east side, everything looks very nice and pretty, but on the west side, we've got a solid waste garbage issue that needs to be addressed, and we've been trying to address it for months. So if we need to, after we get that report, then we can make those hard decisions. But I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Well, absolutely. And as we go through the budget process, we're going to be looking at solid waste fees, which some say are the same thing as a tax, but they're not considered as such. So absolutely, some of those items can be addressed in fee adjustments rather than in the general revenue.
And to your
Councilman
point,
Roth?
Mayor,
Yes.
remember, the solid waste is an enterprise fund. What we're talking here is the general fund right now. So,
Very good.
Officers are in the general.
yes, we're taking account of police officers.
And since 2019, we've hired 10 new officers, 10% increase. Is that correct? Or we've authorized at least 10 new positions, correct? Or 11?
I believe you're correct. I know that last year, I believe, was 4. Before then, with the body cameras, I think it might have been 6.
Yeah. I think
So
it's at
you're,
least
the
10.
last couple of years, I think you're correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. Just, let's keep that in perspective. Yes, Vice Mayor.
Sorry, Mr. Roth.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I
Councilman.
was just going to add, and Jerry covered that point, that, and my concern was solid waste as well, and I didn't bring it up because it was part of a different fund altogether, but then when we're doing the budget process, we're going to have to look for ways to help the west side of the city when it comes to solid waste collection. And not only that part of it, but also an enforcement of illegal dumping, because that's a huge, huge problem. And that's a problem on the east side in the ungated communities. There are ungated communities on the east side of the city as well. So I think the enforcement of the illegal dumping is going to be crucial. I was just talking to the colonel today, and it's interesting if I listen to the radio, and everybody knows that, but last week there were a whole lot of issues with shoplifting, and of the calls that I heard, every single person that was in a store at that time taking merchandise was caught. Okay, that's a deterrent. Because they get out of jail, they go back and say, hey, listen, I got caught. Don't go to Homestead and shoplift, right? Same thing with solid waste. If we start to prosecute those that are illegally dumping in the city, they may get a word that, hey, I can't go out and do that in the city of Homestead. And that with law enforcement, the same thing happens with the drugs and the gangs and those things. They don't come to Homestead because of the enforcement. And I think we got to look at that through this budget cycle so we can enforce the illegal dumping that goes on in the city as well. So, but that's not really part of this, but it's an important topic to carry on. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Guzman.
On that topic, even though we're not supposed to be on that topic, I think there's a direct correlation between our solid waste department, our code enforcement department, and finance. If finance tells us that the numbers look a certain way, then we can decide if those rates need to be changed. If solid waste has the problem of illegal dumping, then code enforcement needs to be on the same page So we've got to figure out a way to merge those three, or to communicate, that those three departments communicate effectively so that we can properly enforce the problem. Thank you.
And just to put it out there, Vice Mayor, regarding solid waste, when we come during the budget process, we're going to have to make some tough decisions, right? I'm sure you're all aware that the county went ahead and raised their rates to their residents. If not, they were only going to pick up the garbage once a week. So we're not to that level, but obviously we definitely need to discuss the future of solid waste, how we're going to move forward in terms of costs, frequencies of pickup, and things like that. And right now we're depending on that analysis, because that's going to be key to everything right now, right? They're going to tell us how to reset the routes, stabilize everything, and hopefully we could reduce costs that way. But where we can't, then we're going to have to make probably some hard decisions there.
Thank you, Chair. When can we expect that analysis?
No, we received the initial draft of the routing, but we're still waiting for a good portion of the report.
Say that again?
We've received the initial analysis of the routing of the routes, stabilizing the routes, but some questions came up. And so we have that, but we're still waiting on the transfer station, the tipping station, things like that.
In your opinion, what is a good ETA on that?
We're looking at October.
When is our budget meeting, or when?
September.
But we'll have,
Does that make sense?
we'll have a very good idea of kind of where we're at.
Before the analysis?
We're waiting for the analysis, but as we're gathering information, we're looking at our existing budget numbers so we know what we can and cannot do. And so some of these decisions may be made, or most likely will be made, after the budget's already approved.
Okay, so then we wouldn't be able to, we can make adjustments to those rates anytime throughout the year, if need be.
For example, commercial accounts, which are not on the non-ad valorem roll, yes, we can make adjustments on those, correct.
Okay. Are we allowed to accept grants to tackle some of the problems so that we could let the public know that we've exhausted every single opportunity for additional funds before we increase anybody's rate?
I think in terms of grants, for example, the trucks, right? If we transition to electric or clean energy vehicles, I'm almost 100% sure there will be grants out there. But once again, it's a delivery timeline, how long it's going to take to get those, right? So those wouldn't be under our regular capital improvement plan. But those are things that definitely we're going to go ahead and look at.
So in terms of the analysis of the routes, didn't we recently change the routes like a year ago where a lot of people had questions about the routing? So what would be different about this analysis?
So this analysis is comprehensive, underdone by a third party. They're going to be recommending completely balanced routes based on the volume of houses and the volume of waste that we've seen from the current routes. So, you may have, for instance, if you say you have 10 houses in one area gives you X amount of garbage and 10 houses in another area gives you Y amount, well, it's not apples and apples, right? So maybe one route might have 7 houses and the other 12. Right, so that then you have a balanced amount of waste, you have a balanced amount of number of trips to the dump, which is what the largest time crunch is for us, right? Going to the dump, waiting in that line, and then traveling back to finish the rest of the route.
In talking about the dump, right now we're looking at waiting times of almost 2 hours to go ahead and dump one of the trucks. I was listening to NPR this week, and the county's actually shipping part of their garbage up to Central Florida to be processed. But in terms of the analysis, we're also looking for GPS routing, which is going to make the routing more efficient, less fuel, routes are quicker. So we're looking at all aspects of this to see how we can improve the department and its efficiencies.
So we did our analysis when we made the change internally, and we didn't use a third party. The first changing of routes.
Are you talking about the biweekly pickups of, yes?
Internally. And now we're using a third party to
The routing is more complex. Right now, you know, you could go to a driver and say, hey, how's the best way to do the route? And the guy's going, I prefer to go here and there and that and this. This is using a scientific method to determine the routes, quickest, fastest routing. We're looking at technology also to put in the trucks to ensure that they're following the routes and actually indicating that they're picking up the garbage, right? Like it will say, hey, I picked up this super can, I picked up the next super can, as opposed to, you know, somebody calls and say, hey, you didn't pick up my garbage. We can go into the system and immediately see if a route has been missed, a block's been missed. So in other words, to become more efficient in picking up the garbage.
Okay, I really wish we would have started earlier on this analysis, given it's been such a big problem in the city, so that we would have addressed it prior to the budget cycle. But based on what you guys are telling us today, you're doing the best you can with getting it to us as fast as you can.
Yeah, that's correct. And this is an analysis that has taken quite some time. We began this early this year, right, this kind of process. I do want to clarify a little bit because, we're talking right now about the route balancing. That's on the residential side of things. What we have a lot more flexibility in is the commercial side, right? Those are the rates that, you adjust throughout the year naturally by frequency of pickup, those kinds of things, just based on the needs of the business. So those rates, which is the second part of the analysis, that's something that we have a lot more flexibility on, and which is why we...
Residential, no? So residential, we're not going to have flexibility on?
The residential rates are collected through the non-ad valorem assessment, the uniform method of collection. They're collected on the tax bill. That is not something that you can change mid-year. You have to do that, prior.
And we didn't want to go ahead and start raising prices to then later get the report and find out if we would have done X, Y, and Z, we would not have had to raise the solid waste rates, correct? So right now, the report is key. We don't want to jump the gun, raise rates, or instead of going bi-weekly, once monthly. So we want to have that information in our hands so we make an informed decision as opposed to a knee-jerk decision.
If we go through another year with residents complaining about what they're going through, that's not acceptable.
Money is not going to fix the entire problem. Efficiency and full equipment levels at what we had will help solve the failure of pickup. Is that a fair assessment?
And thank you, Mayor. That's a great point. We have 3 new vehicles coming online, our understanding, between November and December. Those are to replace existing vehicles. We are not going to get rid of those 3 vehicles that are being replaced. We're going to go ahead and refurbish them, keep them as backup. Part of our challenge right now has been the availability of parts. For some reason, people like to burn our trucks up. We've had 3 fires, if I'm not mistaken. We recently had a total loss. The vehicle was being repaired at the repair shop. They took it out for a test, and that vehicle was a total loss. So that's been some of the challenges we've had. So we're definitely pushing to upgrade our equipment. Julio's been working with the department. We're putting CIPs together for additional equipment. And once again, when we come to you with the complete budget, like I said, in terms of solid waste, we're going to take a very good look at it, and hard decisions are going to have to be made, but we'll get there when we get there.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, what I think an important differential is that last year we adjusted some frequency as well as pickup days. What we're talking about now is changing the size of each truck's responsibility. for example, Zone 1, Northwest Homestead and Central Homestead, is very large and probably the most needy of the solid waste and the household garbage. So just hypothetically speaking, if you broke Zone 1 into two routes, we may not have the unsightly and failure of pickup issues that we've been experiencing, you know, with all of our equipment online. And I think what you're talking about too, these efficiencies, it's like you used to hear about that FedEx truck drivers were only allowed to make right-hand turns, that it resulted, you know, cumulatively a huge fuel and time savings. So it's not only balancing the size of each driver's route, but enforcing the way the drivers traverse their route to become more efficient with the equipment that we have now. Now,
You're 100% correct.
as distinguished from some people's days changed and some frequencies changed last year. So we really didn't change the routes, we changed the route
Frequency.
days.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, did we get, Councilman Roth?
I just want to throw this out there real quick. We were just talking about this yesterday with an organization I'm a part of outside the city, thank goodness, and commercial trash collection. On average, the trash collection was $500-600 per month. We got our estimate from that same company, and it's going to $2,000 per month for the same size dumpster for the same amount of trash. So we're obviously going to be speaking to them to figure out how we can cut that down some. But those are some of the problems I think that you know, outside of the city, we just see what's inside the city, but those things are going on outside the city. And as much as we have our fingers on the pulse of the community, staff is doing everything they can to get us up and running and monitorized. We had some shortfalls with I think in some planning aspects and keeping equipment going, but COVID hit, and that was another issue that nobody could even see coming. But those are some of the things that people are fighting with out there now. I mean, from $500 to $600 a month to $2,000 a month, it is a lot of money. So anyways, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yeah, and the volume of garbage and trash has increased. I want to say in residential was 40%, in the 20s, if I'm not mistaken, in commercial. I know, once again, the county has just raised their rates. We're going to look very closely at that in terms of tipping fees for the city. And those are things, especially for the commercial accounts, that we could do a direct pass-through, right? If this is what the county is charging us, then this is what it's going to go ahead and cost. And once again, in terms of recycling, I was reading an article yesterday that the county in 2023, when their existing agreement expires, they're probably going to do away with recycling. They're going to probably send everything they have to Covanta. That's the waste-to-energy plant that they have. And in fact, they're looking to build an additional plant right now. So this is not a Homestead alone problem or a Miami-Dade County alone problem. This is a nationwide problem that a lot of municipalities and counties are having right now.
Thank you. Did we get Mr. Kraft a microphone?
Hi. I was thinking now when we are talking about the budget and how much money Jerry has to spend, and I remember I brought it up about the garbage trucks and what Gonzalez is doing over in waste management. He's trying to do the best. When he pointed it out, nothing happened. Now it's happening. Thank God. Also, when we talk about budget, where are we with the negotiation with urban development and the old city hall? Because if that one comes true, then we will have an income from there, one way or another. And if it doesn't come true, then we will have to pay the taxes. And when it comes to garbage, the garbage fee hasn't been raised for 14 years. So basically, what I would suggest, why don't we just let the garbage fee be adjusted up to current standard? So back in 14 years ago, the amount of dollars people pay for their garbage was a certain percentages of their household. Why not let it be the same? Basically, people have had a decrease in payment on their garbage because it hasn't been put up to standard. So there's a slack of 14 years. And then I also would like to know, when do we have not a state of the union, but a state of the city, where we are and where Jerry sees us in a couple of years from now, and what kind of tools he will implement in order to get us there where we need to be. Thank you.
August 24th.
Thank you.
Put it on your calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kraft. Anything further from council? All right, there's no further public comment. I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve preliminary approval of the proposed operating millage rate of 6.2055 per thousand and the voted debt millage rate at 0.3550 per $1,000 of assessed value. Moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by Councilwoman Avila. Roll call, Madam, or no, we don't need a roll call on this. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, next item. Mr. Manager, tab 3, motion to place car number 3573 on the council agenda, RFP 2022-20, youth programming at Ficol Williams Community Center.
Thank you, Mayor. On March 18th, 2022, the city advertised RFP 2022-20 for youth programming at FICO Williams Community Center. The selected firm would be responsible to provide youth programs such as, but not limited to, after-school care, summer camps, and teen enrichment programs. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute an agreement with Gang Alternative, Inc. for youth programming at the FICO Williams Community Center. This is a 5-year revenue-generating agreement with 2 one-year extensions. Staff estimates that the agreement will generate approximately $60,000 over 5 years. When we put out this solicitation, we notified at least 25 vendors, and we received 2 responses. And I believe the Gang Alternative is here if you have any questions.
All right, very good. First, I'll ask if there are any additional questions or comments from council. Yes, Councilman Roth.
Thank you, thank you. Now, Gang Alternative, weren't they in the PAL gym at one point or no?
Yes, and we have Sandy here to answer questions as well, Councilman. Oh. In fact, they have a presentation, Councilman.
Okay, so are they expanding from the PAL to the FICO Williams Center, or they're going to have 2 locations now?
They are going to move to the FICO Williams Community Center. It's more useful for the programming that they have, where the PAL is more of a athletic facility, so it limits what they can do with the children.
Yeah, since the facility is larger, Councilman, they'll be able to serve more kids.
Councilwoman Bailey, is that it, Councilman Roth? Councilwoman Bailey?
Thank you, Mayor. How does the enrollment increase? Do you have a number?
I'm sorry?
What is the increase in enrollment that they'll be able to do?
They will be able to tell you that. I know that currently they're serving 75 to 100 children. And so they should be able to increase it, but I do not utilize their grants. So I'm sure that Janine here can give you the details of how many children and what they will be providing.
Well, I am excited for this move. Not only are you increasing your capacity, but we will be able to use the PAL gym more efficiently and as a better community center. You know, we're always working on how to find more sports gym related facilities, so I think that this is a great move. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anything further from my right? No? Vice Mayor? Anything further from, come forward and give us your name and address, your comment.
Janine Peterson,
Assistant Senior Program Manager for Gang Alternative. It doesn't look like the presentation copied on the USB, but we are currently at PAL. We are serving 90 children during the school year, 120 during the summer. If we are able to move into FICO, we can increase that number. We are currently funded by the Children's Trust at $1.1 million per year to offer after-school and summer camp programming to 525 children per year at 6 sites. So we would be moving from PAL to FICO Williams, and then we would, once we get over there, we can decide how many additional kids we could serve at the site.
Very good, thank you. Now, are you ready with the presentation, or can't get it? It's not.
It's not on there. I have it on my phone. I don't know. Can I email it to you? Is there a way?
You try it. We'll take a moment and try it. Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. So I understand that their enrollment increase is based on what the needs are, but then would they have the full use of FICO Williams, or are we designating a few spots still to be rented out?
Would be, I believe it will be the full facility, depending on the enrollment.
Councilwoman, we're going to be negotiating with them in terms of what their needs are. Obviously, we want to keep FICO Williams available on the weekends for rentals, Friday afternoons, Friday evenings, things like that. So we're going to take all of that into account, but we'll work with them to find a solution that's beneficial to everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Bear with us while we fight with technology.
Mayor, can I make a suggestion? We can get the presentation and maybe forward it to all of you so you guys can remember this is going on consent anyways.
Okay, let's do that.
And that way you have an opportunity to talk to her as well, because I know we have a pretty long docket here, so I don't know if you all want to
Is that acceptable
move
to
forward.
council? We'll just forward it. Any concerns will be. You got it? You ready? Now you tell us.
Okay, so our current program that we are running is called our Guiding the Path to Success program. It's our GPS program. Next slide, please. So our mission is to build character that lasts in children and families through positive alternatives to crime, violence, dependency, and delinquency by offering a holistic approach to the academic, physical, social, economic, and spiritual development. So a lot of people ask us why the name Gang Alternative. So the program is not focused on children who are in gangs. It is a positive alternative to the gang-like mindset. So we don't want people to be dependent or negligent or violent. So we're giving an alternative to a gang-like mentality. So Gang Alternative is accredited by the CARF accreditation of rehabilitation facilities. We hold 2 DCF licenses. We hold a level 2 and a level 1 and a level 2, and we also hold child care licensures for all of our facilities. So we've been funded by the Children's Trust since 2009, currently with $1.1 million for 6 sites. In 2014, we were asked to come to Homestead and take on an additional site at, we were originally at Oasis Church, and then we took over those 126 kids, and then in 2015, you can go to the next slide. In 2015, we moved into Life Point Church and took over Weed and Seed. And then in 2016 is when we moved into PAL, and we now, where we still are, serving 90 kids during the school year and 120 during the summer. So all of our funding is free because we have funding from the Children's Trust. So the children receive free food 2-3 times a day on full days. The price of the field trips and all of the activities is covered through the grant. So no money comes out of the family's pockets. So we currently have 6 sites. 2 of our sites are in Homestead, so we're at the PAL, and we're also at the Verde Gardens, which is run by Camilla's house. If we are able to move into FICO Williams, we would pay rent in the amount of $1,000 a month, and then that would go to the cities in the amount of $12,000 a year. Our population right now is kindergarten through 5th grade. In the summer months, we could also accept pre-K students. The program is after school, full day, summer, and spring break camp services. So after school is all 180 days of out of school time. Full days, I think there's 13 full days in the school year. Spring break the whole week, and then summer camp for 34 days. All of our staff are DCF certified. Our program manager and our site coordinator that are here with me today, they both hold director credentials for child care management. All of our staff have their 45 hours in DCF child care training. We're all trained in CPR, first aid, youth mental health first aid, motivational interviewing, HIV, control sensitivity, and competency, and all of our staff are also level 2 background checked. We use a ratio of 1 to 15. Each site has a site coordinator, a lead instructor. Regular instructors, the number can change. This says 2 to 3 depending on the number of children, but if for instance, if we have 120 kids, it would be 7 site instructors on site, and then also a certified teacher daily. So our regular school days run Monday through Friday from 2:30 to 6:30 daily, and then our full days are Monday through Friday from 7:30 to 5:30, and that includes our full days, summer, and spring break. These are our daily activities that each child will receive: literacy, physical fitness, moving with math, which is only during the summer. We give homework assistance, we offer social skills, differentiated learning instruction, which is given by a certified teacher. Those are for our children who may be behind, so they receive extra help from a certified teacher. We offer nutrition, arts and crafts, STEM activities, field trips. We usually go on 2 or 3 during the school year, and then we go on a free field trip every week during the summer, and then supervised free play, and we also offer family events. This is our sample schedule of our daily routine. And then these are just some of the curriculums. All of our curriculums are EBPs that we use with the children. So we have Kids Lit for reading, Moving with Math for our math activities, Peaceworks for social skills, Spark for our physical fitness. These are some of the testings that we do with the kids during the year to make sure that they're on track with their educational progress. So we do pre, mid, and post tests during the school year, and then during the summer we do pre and post tests, and all of those tests are in ORF, which is oral reading fluency, and PACER, which is our physical fitness testing. And then these are the different metrics that we use to track their progress. So if 80% of the children, third grade, make meaningful improvement to their oral reading fluency, and so on and so forth. So we just make sure that, we want to always make sure that 80% of the kids that we serve, well, we strive for more than that, but by the grant, we want to make sure that 80% of the children improve from being with us from pre to post test, so from the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year. You could go on. Okay, and so these are some of the other activities that the children get to participate in by being in the Gang Alternative After School program. So we have our annual Back to School drive, which we're actually going to be doing at PAL next Friday from 10 to 2. You guys are welcome to come out. We're going to have all kinds of things for the kids, and all of the children are going to leave with a backpack filled with supplies to start them off for the school year. Every year we do our Christmas toy drive. The kids perform. They also leave with a toy that day. We have our annual Compassion Project, so the Saturday before Thanksgiving, all of our families receive a turkey and sometimes, if we can, a bag of food also to take home. Monthly, we have our parent circle meetings. The parents could come to the site. We give them different resources, might be prizes, maybe games, and we give them things to take home to do with their children. And then we also have our annual reading month in April, which Councilwoman Ms. Bailey, she came and she read to the kids. So you'll see in the next slide, she was dressed up as Cat in the Hat. Sorry, there she is. She came out and read with the kids. And then the next few slides are just some pictures of our events that we have had at PAL and at the sites. So this is our after school, that's our Christmas, the turkey toy drive. Yeah, field day, prizes that we gave away with the kids. So, and these are some field trips that we went on. That's Lion Country Safari at the top. We had a rock climbing wall. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight. Councilwoman Bailey.
Real quick. So as much as I felt like I have been a part of Gang Alternative, there were still a lot of things on there that I wasn't aware that you guys did. So especially with you running programming out of a city facility, I personally, I'm sure everybody else would love to have more updates on when your events are. You said sometimes they receive a bag of food along with the turkey. Those are little things that we can always help fill in gaps with. So please, as you're increasing and becoming even more amazing, keep us in mind, and thank you.
Definitely. So, and just so in addition, Gang Alternative has 32 programs. We do Renew is our workforce development. We have counseling. We have parenting. So right now, a lot of our things are for the north. We do have a counseling that we could do. You know, if we have kids that have trauma, we can refer to us, and we have therapists down in Homestead right now. But moving forward, if we get into the space, then we'll start to make sure that when we're writing grants for the 2023 year, that we're including, you know, the kids of Homestead in those grants and be able to offer those things at FICO as well.
Thank you. Hang on just a moment. Let me, my comment, I probably necessarily include the manager. One of your slides really caught my attention where you talked about one of the components of your program was the STEM activities.
The STEM?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We have another item on our agenda tonight to award a STEM project to another vendor. I don't know if your organization was aware that we had put out a request for proposal for those services. I'm concerned, are we duplicating efforts? Are we creating too many different vendors, and rather than having a one-stop shop? Can you help me understand why we didn't go or, find a way to provide the opportunity to someone with a longer history and proven success?
So I can't necessarily speak to why Gang Alternative didn't respond to the other solicitation. But as far as duplication of services, what Gang Alternative is offering here is, the after schools care, a kind of year-round program that with a certain number of kids enrolled and, following them on a continued basis. What the other STEM program is offering is more kind of event-based, like weekend events that are open enrollment. So you can join one, you can try and join them all. So there's kind of two different audiences there. And of course, I think the other applicant is on the line for that item as well.
Thank you. Just curious, that caught my attention, particularly because we have another item on the agenda tonight. All right, is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this matter? None appearing. I'll close the hearing and ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilwoman Avila. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, next item is tab 4, motion to place car number 3561 on the council agenda, the CDBG Annual Action Plan for fiscal year 22-23. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. In order to receive Community Development Block Grant funds each year, the City of Homestead is required by the Department of Housing and Urban Development to prepare an annual action plan that describes the activities that will be undertaken during the funding year. A public meeting was held on May 31st, 2022 to determine the projects and activities to be considered. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution adopting and authorizing the City Manager to submit the Community Development Block Grant Fiscal Year 2022-2023 Annual Action Plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval and establishing a budget. The action plan must be submitted electronically to HUD Miami Field Office by August 15, 2022.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? It's an annual recurring event. Anyone wishing to make a public comment on this item? Close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilwoman Avila. Seconded by Councilman Roth. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Next item, tab 5, motion to place car number 3562 on the council agenda, RFP number 2022-04, Community Development Block Grant STEM Award. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. At the July 21st, 2021 council meeting, council approved car number 3164, Community Development Block Grant 2021-2022 Action Plan that provided science, technology, engineering, and mathematics programs for low-income students. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council authorize the City Manager to award RFP 2022-04 to Dibia Dream, Inc. for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics programs, and to negotiate and execute an agreement in substantially the form attached for an amount not to exceed $100,000. And as Zach mentioned earlier, Dibia Dreams is here.
Thank you. All right, questions from council?
Just a statement. They've been here before, and I've been to a couple of their programs. I think, Bailey, you've been out there too. Really cool stuff that they do for these kids. So that's all. I just wanted to make that statement.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, just to add to it, especially during the pandemic, not only my boys, but their cousins, they all did the kits every month pretty much. And another thing that I really like about Dibia is that they're very connected in the community. They reach out to programs like Gang Alternative, Touching Miami with Love, to make sure that all of their students are aware of it too. So on that note, it's just a whole nother, it's a whole nother level of what any other type of after-school program or anything could offer. They mailed the kits with all of the things that they needed, so they really stepped up during COVID when I think that our kids needed it the most. So I am very happy with what I've seen from them the last few years.
Very good, thank you.
They recognize you with the mask.
Hope all is well. I was just in the back listening, so if there were any questions or anything like that. But we've been really thankful for partnering with the city over the years, as they've mentioned, especially in the pandemic. I think it was tough on everyone, so we took some months, but we were able to really deliver the kits. And I think for me, the first set that we delivered, I personally delivered, and we hadn't seen families or kids for so long, right? And you would see kids with masks, but they're running up to you. Kids don't have boundaries, so they were running up to you just saying, "Hey, coach, we haven't seen you in a while," and things like that. So it was great to engage them virtually for so long, and so we've been hearing so much, "When are you coming back?" So we're excited to be back.
Good, thank you. All right, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and then ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor. All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you.
See you out there. Thank you for coming out tonight. Okay, next item is tab 6. Is the motion to place car number 3597 on the council agenda, allocation of ARPA funding for CRA Triangle Property Revitalization Project. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. On March 11th, 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act was signed into law establishing the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. On January 6, 2022, the final rule was issued establishing the final framework for determining the types of programs and services eligible under ARPA. The City of Homestead has received $19,192,087 in ARPA funding and has expended $809,108 of ARPA funding to date. The Mayor and City Council have authorized expenditure of an additional $5,654,900 of ARPA funding, leaving $12,728,078 of ARPA funding unencumbered. Consistent with the approved uses under the Public Health and Negative Economic Impacts category, staff is proposing to allocate $6 million in ARPA funds towards the Community Redevelopment Agency Triangle Property Revitalization Program. The project is located within the Qualified Census Tract and will be a mixed-income, mixed-use, transit-oriented development intended to catalyze the redevelopment of the Southwest neighborhood while creating synergy with the revitalization of the downtown Homestead. It is the CRA's intent to seek additional funding for the project and select a private development partner to bring the project to fruition. Staff recommends that Mayor and City Council consider a motion to approve the allocation of $6 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds towards the Community Redevelopment Agency Triangle Property Revitalization Project. Just keep in mind, this is just earmarking the money. This is not approval to go ahead and spend the money. Any expenditure that will come in the future, staff will come back to council for actual approval to go ahead and do that.
Very good. Initial questions or comments from council? All right, so let's go to the public. Is there anyone either online or in the chambers wishing to speak on this matter? I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey. Seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Moving right along. Tab 7. Motion to place car number 3591 on the council agenda. Designation of U.S. Bicycle Route 15 through Homestead. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials is expanding the U.S. bicycle route system. The nationwide effort plans to add nearly 500 miles to the USBR system, including extensions of USBR 15 within the state of Florida, with a small 0.2 of a mile segment of the system through Homestead. Currently, USBR 15 only exists in southern Georgia and northern Florida. The general route of USBR 15 in Florida is along the Gulf Coast before turning east to Homestead and linking up with USBR 1. The proposed route within the Homestead designates a 0.2 mile segment of Northeast 4th Street to connect with Southwest 137th Avenue to USBR 1 along the South Miami Transitway. The project is being led by FDOT, Bike Florida, and Florida Bicycle Association, and the Adventure Cycling Association. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution and letter of support for designation of U.S. Bicycle Route 15 through Homestead using a 2/10 mile segment of Northeast 4th Street. There's no cost to the city for this. They're just looking for a support reso and letter, and I believe we have somebody on the line here for that.
We do. We have Mr. Kerry Irons on the line who's available to address any questions from the council. Mr. Irons?
All right, well, Mr. Ayers, let's see if there are any questions or comments from council.
Yeah, the audio keeps cutting out, so if somebody addresses a question to me, it might have to be repeated.
All right, we'll go to the vice mayor first, so here he goes.
Thank you, Chairman. No, I just noticed that there is a huge cycling community out there, so I'm in support of this item. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor. So my question would be, I guess at this point, this is an effort to put a longer section of this designated trail together. You're sort of putting the segments in place for future completion?
Yes, so we are working with 19 different jurisdictions along the route, and currently 14 of them have already approved their portions of it. The way the system works with the feds at AASHTO is FDOT submits an application for approval, and FDOT has to tell AASHTO appropriately that each of the local pavement owners is in support. So when it's on state highway, it's up to FDOT, but when it goes on city streets or county roads, they need to hear from that local agency that they are in support.
So in the future, we might see signage placed directing your cyclists through that direction, or identifying that particular segment as part of the trail.
Yeah, so signage is a separate subject. It's not required. AASHTO recognized that any cost imposition on local agencies would be a barrier to getting these routes designated. And currently in the state of Florida, there exist already three U.S. bike routes, and none of them are signed at this point. Roughly a third of the 18,000 miles of national routes are signed, so 2/3 are not. Signage is a great thing. It's great for cyclists to navigate the route, and it's great to notify motorists that they're on a bike route, but it's not required. So signage could take place on state highways via FDOT, although they haven't identified a funding source for that. And signage could take place on county and city streets and roads if funds were identified. And that currently no funds have been identified. We have worked with agencies in other states to raise funds and buy signs and let the locals put them up, but all of that is something for the future once the route has been designated.
All right, thank you. Councilman Roth?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question. Does the route end or begin at that location? Because I don't see the red line doesn't go anywhere else.
It both ends and begins. So U.S. Bike Route 15 will eventually reach Lake Ontario in New York State. It's currently designated in Georgia and northern Florida. So this route connects, the proposed route here connects the piece that's in northern Florida. It ends right now in Madison at U.S. Bike Route 90, which is an east-west route that crosses the state. But it would end at U.S. Bike Route 1, which then continues on down to Key West. And U.S. Bike Route 1 is already designated.
So there is so this spot where it ends in our city begins the bike route down into the Keys. Is that correct?
Yes.
We just don't
it joins
see a
that
red
route.
line.
But
Okay.
just as US 41 has to end someplace, this is where US Bike Route 15 would end.
I got you. So, and I guess is that US 1 that it ends at, and then it goes south from there?
US Bike Route 1 is on the busway next to US 1.
Gotcha.
But
Fair.
yeah, it goes down and spends most of its time on US 1 once it gets obviously into the Keys. That's the only way to get to Key West.
Which is actually right out here. So I think we should put a water stand out there for the bikers that are going by. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Roth. anything further? All right, anyone wishing to speak on this matter? Any public comments? All right, so let's have a motion to approve.
Move it.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Ayers, for joining the meeting tonight.
Thanks for your time and attention. I appreciate it very much.
All right, very good. Next item is tab 8, motion to place car number 3566 on the council agenda. Electric grid interconnection agreement between the City of Homestead and Florida Power and Light. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. At the February 9th, 2021 council meeting, council authorized staff to work with the Florida Power and Light for the design and construction of a new interconnection point to be located at the Renaissance Electrical Substation situated in the Park of Commerce. The city executed a letter of intent with FP&L for the new interconnection, and staff advised council that the new interchange service agreement would be brought back to them for approval in 2022. FP&L plans to begin construction soon and will be responsible for all costs related to the design and construction of their facilities required to complete the new interconnection point. Estimated expense is approximately $2 million. The city will be responsible for any substation costs associated with upgrading its facilities to support the new interconnection. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to approve the attached agreement between the city and Florida Power and Light for the construction of the grid interconnection project at the Renaissance Electrical Substation. This project is part of the city's capital improvement plan, CIP 2295.
Thank you. Council, questions, comments? Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Has the city in the past ever had that line go down? I know adding a second line is extremely beneficial as a backup, but has it ever had?
Yeah, I just saw from electric utility, the main interconnection has never gone down.
And how long has it been in existence?
I think Billy said approximately 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, Renaissance has a feed in it. This will be a redundant feed coming in, which will increase the reliability of our transmission supply of electricity into the city.
And I know some of our contracts are coming up, in about 5 years. I'm assuming you guys are already starting to look, out to project where we're going to get new contracts.
Yes, we are.
Does the city have any plans on generating energy?
A couple years ago, we went out for the RFP for purchase power agreements. Council did approve us to talk to some vendors for merchant option on site. We have started those talks after COVID, and we're speaking to a couple of them currently. We've got putting the numbers together, and then we'll bring that to the city manager, talk to him about it, and then if it's feasible option, we will bring it to council.
You mentioned merchant. Can you say that again? Repeat that part?
It's a merchant option where someone would build a power plant on our site, and we would do a purchase power agreement with them. The building of the power plant would be no cost to the city.
Excellent.
It would just be the cost of the infrastructure, or what we call capacity payment, to them for the power.
Thank you, Mr. Branch.
Any other questions?
Great, thank you. Yeah, that has to, we've got an approved site with plenty of room. All right, any further, Mr. Manager?
No, sir.
Not on this item. Anything from the public? Any public comment? All right, do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilman Roth. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Tab 9, motion to place car number 3565 on the council agenda. RFQ number 2022-10, architectural and engineering services for Homestead Sports Complex design. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. At the April 12, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting, Mayor and Council authorized the city manager to negotiate with Bormillo, Ajamil, and Partners, Inc. for the architectural and engineering services for the Phase 1 of the Homestead Sports Complex. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Bormillo, Ajamil, and Partners, Inc. for RFQ 2022-10, Architectural and Engineering Services for the Homestead Sports Complex design in an amount of $657,600. We're very happy with this, Mayor. Initially, our initial estimate was more like $1.1 million to get these services done, so we're very excited it's coming in much less.
Very good, thank you. Questions, comments from council? All right, I think I heard move it from Councilman Roth. Second from Councilwoman Avila. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving right along. Tab 10, motion to place car number 3572 on the council agenda. ITB number 2022-15, restroom renovations for JD Red Park and Roby George Park. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. On May 6, 2022, the Procurement and Contract Services Department issued ITB 2022-15 restroom renovations for JD Red Park and Roby George Park for the complete renovations of the restrooms at those parks. Notices were sent out to 1,041 vendors and 3 responses were received. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council authorize the City Manager to award ITB 2022-15 to Kunano Builders Corporation for restroom renovations at JD Red Park and Roby George Park in the amount of $198,745. This authorization will also allow the manager to allocate an additional $15,000 for unforeseen conditions or changes required during the permitting. This project is part of the city's capital improvement plan, CIP 2033, and will be funded by parks impact fees.
Very good, thank you. How long to get started, how long to finish?
We can
Ignoring COVID and supply chain and labor chain.
We can get started as soon as possible, and then with this approval, we'll get a construction timeline and distribute that to the council.
Very good. Council?
Yeah, 1 second.
Did she beat you to the punch, Councilman Roth?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
I think she did, but.
Wait a minute, public comment? All right, we'll
I
close public comment. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilman Roth.
And just one comment. During construction, are we going to have alternative facilities available on site for those folks? Yeah, I see Pedro second, yeah.
Yes, there will be portable restrooms available.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Good, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item, tab 11, motion to place car number 3585 on the council agenda. Construction, engineering, and inspection services for the Biscayne Everglades Greenway Trail Project. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. At the October 20th, 2021 council meeting, an agreement with HSQ Group, Inc. was approved for the construction, engineering, and inspection services in the amount of $70,700 for the Biscayne Everglades Greenway Trail Project and funded utilizing park and recreation impact fees. The agreement was for a term of 180 days and was executed on November 12, 2021. Currently, the trail construction is still ongoing and is pending permit approvals from Miami-Dade County Public Works Department for the crosswalks and gates. The permit application was initially submitted to the county on January 14, 2022, and spent a total of 108 days in review. The permit application was resubmitted to the county on May 11, 2022, and is still in review. The remaining components of the project are dependent on the county's approval of the permit. Only then can the contractor order and install the remaining crosswalks and gates. In order for HSQ to continue with the CEI services and finish the project, the city has negotiated an extension for an additional 180 days in an amount not to exceed $35,340 and billed on an hourly basis. The funding for this extension will come from the Park and Recreation impact fees. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to extend the agreement with HSQ Group, Inc. pursuant to RFQ 2013-07, professional architectural engineering services for construction, engineering, and inspection services for the Biscayne Everglades Greenway Trail Project for a total not to exceed $35,340.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Council? Councilman Roth.
I really dislike when we have to pay because of somebody else's issues, and it's unfortunate, but I think it's a good cause that we're getting this done finally. But I just had to say that. It's very disappointing that we have to pay for somebody else's problems.
The feeling is mutual.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, any public comment? We'll close the public comment, and do I hear a motion down there? I have a second. Moved by Councilman Ross, second by Councilwoman Bailey. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Motion to place, next item, tab 12. Motion to place car number 3594 on the council agenda. Approval of the flood insurance claim. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. The Cibarium suffered a water loss on May 15, 2022, which was subsequently deemed a flood occurrence by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, allowing the city to file a claim under its flood policy written through Wright National Flood Insurance Company. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution accepting and approving the insurance settlement from FEMA and authorizing the city manager to execute proof of loss to resolve the flood insurance claim that impacted the Cibarium on May 15, 2022, as well as any further proofs of losses for this claim. The claim amount we're putting in for right now is $169,503.
Thank you. Council? Okay. Any public comment? We will close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilwoman Bailey. Seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item, tab 13, motion to place car number 3593 on the council agenda, Department of Children and Family Services Grant Award Amendment. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. On July 1st, 2021, the city entered into an agreement with the Department of Children and Families in order to fund domestic violence investigations in collaboration with SOS and Miami-Dade County Victim Services. The agreement provided funding in the amount of $77,747 for one full-time domestic violence detective and was to end on June 30th, 2022. DCF has provided the city with an extension of the original contract for a 6-month period with the additional funding in the amount of $38,873, bringing the total funding to $116,620. The amendment will expire on December 31st, 2022. The original agreement required a match of $19,436.75. That match is still required at the same amount and is met through detective supervisor's salary. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution accepting the grant award extension with additional funding from the Department of Children and Family for domestic violence investigations.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Council? All right. Do we have any public comment? We'll close the public hearing. Motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilwoman Avila. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next item, tab 14, motion to place car number 3558 on the council agenda. Interlocal agreement for the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Permit. Say that 3 times real fast.
Thank you, Mayor. At the September 2017 council meeting, council approved Resolution 2017-0917 authorizing an interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County National Discharge Elimination Systems Program. The MPDES Stormwater Program is a national program for addressing non-agricultural sources of stormwater discharge which adversely affect water quality. The program uses the MPDES permitting mechanism to require the implementation of controls designed to prevent harmful pollutants from being washed by stormwater runoff into local water bodies. The City of Homestead is a co-permittee named in the MPDES permit number FLS 000003. As part of the As part of this permit, the city is individually responsible for fulfilling a series of requirements. The total cost of the interlocal agreement will not exceed $16,375 per year. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing city managers to enter into a 5-year interlocal agreement between the co-permittees named in the National Discharge Elimination System Permit and Miami-Dade County, providing professional services for the control of pollutant discharges between the shared municipal separate stormwater systems for a grand total of $81,875 over 5 years. This agreement shall become effective and supersede the current interlocal agreement on October 1st, 2022, and expire on September 30th, 2027.
Thank you. Council, questions, comments? Any public comments? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Avila. Seconded by Vice Mayor. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Next item is motion to place car number 3577 on the council agenda. Water Tank Management Service Agreement.
Thank you, Mayor. The Public Works and Engineering Department Water Treatment Division entered into an 8-year agreement with Southern Corrosion, Inc. on August 25th, 2015. The department desires to extend the agreement with Southern Corrosion, Inc. for an additional 8 years at the same annual cost as the original agreement. Staff recommends and Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to accept and execute the agreement between the City of Homestead and Southern Corrosion, Inc. for annual inspections and maintenance of the city's 3 elevated water tanks located at Whitcott Park, Harris Field Park, and Homestead Miami Speedway for a total of $1,195,240 over 8 years. This is a piggyback contract from the city of Bowling Green, Florida. And the important thing to keep in mind here, Mayor and Council, is that they're maintaining their 2015 pricing. There's no price increase here, so we figure it's best to go ahead and extend the existing agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Council? Right. Vice Mayor and then Councilwoman Avila.
I wanted to ask staff if we have anything in place to better our water pressure coming out of our homes.
Mayor and Council. Right now our water pressures throughout the city are approximately at 50 PSI. That's an average. Actually, it's the lowest. So in some areas we have it as high as 52, 53 PSI. Right now the regulatory requirements for pressure for residential water supply is 20 PSI minimum. So we're double of that as currently stands. The pressure is basically set by the elevation of our tanks. The way the water supply works in our city is by gravity. We basically pump the water up to the tanks, and from there, the weight of the water basically pushes that water down and distributes it through the system. That way, you always maintain a very steady pressure throughout the day. There are, of course, some areas that have higher pressure than others. That's always, that always happens. We are, however, one thing that will improve our pressure is the pump station project that we're doing at the racetrack tank. That tank right now basically just runs in the system. It doesn't necessarily either create pressure or reduce pressure throughout the system. By us including a pump station there, what we can do is pump water to that tank to raise that level so it doesn't just ride the pressure throughout the city. It actually can provide additional pressure. So we're hoping that once that gets going, which is one of the projects that we have going forward with one of the grants that we got, it's approximately a $600,000 project, we'll be able to increase that pressure at the southeast corner of our city, and basically what we're trying to do is create pressure to build, and to raise the average pressure throughout the city from the two ends, basically from the east and from the west. So that is coming up, and right now it's under design. So,
yeah, that was approved last month, if I was not mistaken.
Correct. So we're moving forward with that, and that will definitely help the pressure. In terms of this particular item, this is basically a requirement that's needed by the FDEP, which is just to make sure that the tanks are clean, are in good shape, there's no rust, etc. So they have certain requirements that need to take place every so many years. We have 3 tanks, so this 8-year program, what it allows to do is go through one complete cycle through each one of the tanks. So at the end of the 8 years, we have performed all the regulatory requirements in terms of maintenance and refurbishing of the tanks as need be.
So when would the project be done for that station, that we can start to see the pressure increase a little bit?
Well, that, I'm figuring the design will take about 4 or 5 months, and then after that, we have permitting, and then it will probably be like a 6-month project. So you're talking a year in terms of, you know, when you add everything up.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilman Rawl, Councilman?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a PSA, and I have to deal with water pressure issues all the time. And I recently bought a new shower head for my shower. And my old shower head was like a jet. It was like badass. It was good. So the new one was like trickling. So I Googled something. I said, well, how do I make the water pressure in my house stronger? And it gave me all kinds of different things. But the one thing it said that the newer fixtures, things that you put in, have water restrictors in them. You take that water restrictor out, and man, the shower start working good again. So it was really good. And the other thing is...
You know, there was a Seinfeld episode about that.
Was there? I don't remember. But, and the other thing is, you know, no fault of anybody, but we live in an area that's got a lot of lime sediment in the water, and your little filters on your faucets also begin to build up that lime. And if you would take them off every 6 months or a year, just rinse them out. It usually is very simple to do. That also helps create additional water pressure, because the pressure is there. It's being restricted in some ways in most people's houses, and that's on the east side especially. You know, everybody says, well, there's so many houses out here, the water pressure is not good. But, you know, at 50 PSI, that's a lot of pressure. We're lucky our pipes are holding up underground with that kind of pressure. So if you increase it much more, you would have more problems as far as leaks and things like that go as well.
Correct, and that's one of the reasons we don't want to increase that pressure up front, you know, because of that same issue, you know, that you can have broken pipes.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at your house. I mean, there's things that sometimes the water meter valve may not be opened all the way as well, which restricts water pressure and water flow. So those are just, you know, PSA for people out there that it's not always the city's fault that there's no water pressure. There's other things that take place that contribute to that. So the shower thing that I gave the example about before is a perfect example of not knowing that they put these little washers in there that restrict the flow of water for water, you know, conserving. Then people want to conserve water, but I want a very strong shower when I take a shower. So little personal stuff too. Sorry. Thank you, Mayor.
I think the kids call that TMI. Councilwoman Howell?
That's great. I'm going to tell my husband to check all our things when we get home. Don't worry. I have a question with regards to the piggybacking. We had talked about it. Can you tell me what your findings were with regards to the county's water tank?
Yeah, we did some research on that. Again, we're piggybacking on a contract that was done in 2015, so we're basically, you know, getting the benefit of that price reduction in a sense, because if we go if we were to rebid this out now, the prices would probably be much higher. So we did some research anyways just to find out what other municipalities are paying for this type of services. Miami-Dade County doesn't compare to us because they don't have elevated tanks. They use ground tanks, which are mostly concrete. They use a completely different method of refurbishing and maintenance. So those don't really match up. So we started looking throughout the state to see what we could find. One that we found that was kind of similar to what we have is Palm Coast. Palm Coast Utilities up the east coast of Florida. For example, for their elevated tank, their costs are $79,000 a year for that one tank. We have 3 tanks for $149,000 a year. So every one of our tanks, we're basically spending close to $50,000 per year. So in essence, they're spending 76 and we're spending 50 with our pricing. So I feel confident that kind of matches. We also checked with City of Hollywood, and they don't have long-term contracts. They just do it when they need to do it and put it out for bid, and they couldn't give us any numbers. We also checked with Florida City, and they, again, just do spot repairs right now. They're not doing complete refurbishing and complete painting, et cetera.
Thank you. That makes me feel more comfortable knowing the research has been done. Does this company also paint the outside of these water tanks? And have we had
Correct. So through the 8-year program, all 3 tanks will be painted. The exterior will be painted, and also the interior will be painted as well. So
Are we going to have like a mural of your beautiful face on the tank? Like, what are we putting on it? Is it the Everglades? Is it the keys? Is it something related to the branding and marketing of our city? Or is it just plain old white?
this is just plain white. If you want to do, and in the past we've had, murals basically painted on the outside of the tanks from time to time. That would be an added expense. It's not a lot more than what it costs, in comparison to what it costs to do the whole tank. It's not that big of an increase in cost, but we could give it, once we do paint, when the tanks are scheduled to be painted, because they're in different years, right? So we have an 8-year program. One of the tanks will be painted in year 2, the other one in year 4, and the other one in year 8, so they all have different years. We could, let the council know and see if they're interested in doing some sort of labeling or something, logo or whatever on the outside. We have in the past gotten numbers for that, but there has never been a consensus of what to actually put there. So since the last time, I think the last time was they had the racetrack logo on the one in Harris Field. But
Maybe
yeah,
they'll
that's
pay
always,
for
they
it.
do that service, so that service is available, so.
Wonderful. And then if I could just maybe extend an invitation for Councilwoman Bailey to help us maybe find a local artist, a student artist that could submit some ideas and maybe do some type of competition style where we can take one of the tanks and display some proud artwork. I
Yeah,
think
we'll find out when it's scheduled to be painted, and we'll definitely come back to council and notify you that it's happening, okay? We can
Thank
take
you.
it
And
from
then-
there.
And maybe also extend an invitation to the racetrack to pay for the painting on the one closest to them. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, since we're going out in the weeds on that, I had several months ago asked the Public Art Committee to consider sponsoring some sort of contest for local children or a call to artists with whatever theme, a different theme for each tank, whether it be an actual mural or the wrap, whatever medium, rather than just the plain white tanks. And, I want to renew my call to that committee to bring something to us to get that conversation started. Another one of those iconic landmark.
We can definitely coordinate.
Yeah. I think that'd be a good part. Yes, Vice Mayor.
While we're on the topic of water, I wanted to take this opportunity to ask Mr. Brea. When new projects are brought online, we've got main water lines going through our main arteries. Is that correct? And then the new development taps into that main pipe?
Correct. So for the most part, you have a spine, large pipe that, theoretically, that's what you want to have, basically a loop that loops the whole city. And then out of that, you feed out pipes, and they progressively get smaller as they get closer to the actual homes, So you start with maybe, a 24-inch pipe down Campbell, and then that reduces to a 12, and then to an 8 within the individual developments. So that's usually the case. But
So throughout all parts of the city, there are pipes that are newer than, the existing old. I mean, do we have like cast iron old pipes still in place?
So cast iron, we do not have cast iron, right? We have, for the most part, it's either all, concrete, PVC, or basically those are the two, and ductile iron pipe. Ductile iron pipe is basically a lot better than cast iron. Cast iron was the old school way of doing the pipes, and ductile iron pipe is not as fragile, it's not as, it doesn't break as easy as cast iron.
And this is when we're pushing water through the system, not sewer.
This is pushing water, and also in sewer, the same thing. I mean, we have pump stations that push water through, same thing, either concrete or ductile iron pipe, and PVC in some cases as well, So depending on the pressure that we're pumping, where we're going through, what kind of materials, then the pipe material is selected to best fit that use.
So does the city take a proactive approach to maintaining or updating or replacing those pipes, or do we react to a break or?
Well, okay, so yes, for the most part, you do tests, and also you base your needs on replacement of pipes just by the age of the system. Right now, for example, ductile iron pipes, the standard lifespan for a pipe like that is, they keep increasing it year after year because they continue working well. So they're right now up to like 50 years of lifespan for ductile iron pipe. But as the years pass, they might change that. I know like 10 years ago it was 40 years, so every so often they just keep saying, well, these pipes are still doing well, and just keep operating. What we do is flushing. There's flushing that's performed on pipes where we put through pipes basically the equivalent of putting like a large cotton swab through it, and the pressure will just like basically scour the inside of the pipe and remove whatever kind of buildup you have. That's done periodically depending on the age of the system and whether we see some kind of sediments, showing up at the final faucets per se. So that's done from time to time. And then again, of course, reacting to pipes, breaking, et cetera, or just getting old. And then when we see that, it gives us also an opportunity to see what the general condition is of the pipe in that area, and then we say, all right, we need to replace this pipe and go that route.
Okay, so the city does take a proactive approach to making sure we've got a.
We do. We have
really
to. We have to. As part of our operating permit, we do have to keep on top of the condition of our pipes, both on water and sewer. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
And to add to that, from time to time, we've received grants and expended money to test the infiltration
Correct.
and the exfiltration in the systems, so that we're conserving water and not polluting in the sewer system through leaks or water coming in to the system where the pipes are joined.
Yeah.
We do that as well.
Yeah, and needlessly having to pump that water, which is just groundwater that's going into our sewer lines. Exactly.
And some of those tests, that determines the need to replace pipes.
Correct. Usually in that case, what they do is just line them. We line them with epoxy liners. That just basically creates a brand new line inside of the existing line that's there. So it's like done without having to break the roads, and it's a lot cleaner, and it creates a super smooth interior surface of the pipe.
So we don't have to worry about a new project coming online, some 500-unit development project, and all of a sudden it comes online and we've got some disaster. You guys take really big precautions.
Correct. And with individual developments, of course, we have 75 pump stations throughout the city, right? And each one has a certain capacity. As they reach capacity, if a new development comes on board and that pump station can't handle that additional flow, then of course a project has to be developed to increase the capacity of that particular pump. You don't do that ahead of time because you never know when that's going to happen. But when it does happen, that's usually when those type of things are taken into account.
And that's on us, not a developer.
It's on us because, DERM has requirements that require us to keep our pump stations operating at a certain hourly, daily hourly operation of 10 hours per day. That's the maximum. When they go above that, then DERM requires us to take action and do something in that place. Yeah, so.
Very good explanation. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this item? We have a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Avila, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Tab 16 has been deferred. Takes us to tab 17. Car number 3595, use of City Hall Plaza for HIV, STD awareness and prevention clinic. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Manning Medical is requesting the use of the City Hall Plaza for an HIV STD awareness and prevention clinic on Saturday, August 27th, 2022, from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. Staff seeks direction regarding the request requested use of the City Hall Plaza by Manny Medical for HIV, STD awareness and prevention clinic on Saturday, August 27th, 2022, from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. Oh, they're here, is my understanding.
Okay. So if a representative can come forward, give us your name and address for the record, and talk about your idea for what this event might look like.
So good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Diana Centeno. I am actually a family nurse practitioner for Manny Medical. Accompanied today by our CEO and President, Mr. Steve, and my clinical manager, Valeria Nancy. So I want to thank you for allowing us to come and speak about our intentions and expectations for the City of Homestead, the community. We're a medical center that collaborates with the Florida Health Department to bring awareness, prevention, and treatment for HIV and STD. Our goal is to organize health fairs throughout the South Dade communities to make them aware that it is okay to get your status. Unfortunately, I know stigma is one of the issues that we are facing when it comes to bringing HIV and STD awareness, especially in this community. Therefore, it is very important to bring awareness by doing health fairs as much as I can. So today I'm asking for permission from the city mayor and the city council to host this community health fair on the Homestead City Hall Plaza, as we feel that I'll be able to reach out more to the community, not only for the HIV and STD awareness, but also providing other health screenings such as blood pressure, glucose readings, nutritional counseling. So I believe that this is going to be a very beneficial health event for the Homestead community. I'm a little nervous. So
Thank you. Stay there in case any member of council has any questions or comments that perhaps you can address. Council? Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, and thanks for providing that service to the City of Homestead.
Thank you.
I did want to ask, how do you utilize the plaza? Do you set up tents and have people approach?
Yes. What we do, I've done 2 fairs so far, and what we do is we set up a tent, and we pretty much have like 3 stations that we do. So one is going to be like oral, it's called Aura screening for HIV. So we do that, we do a little bit of counseling from that, and then if they want to go to the next station, we can do blood pressure, glucose screening, and then we'll have a whole table for nutrition and counseling. I myself, I'm always at the health fairs for any questions for anybody because of my medical knowledge, but that's pretty much what we've been doing.
So on your tent, it says,
it'll have our name. It says Manny Medical Center. We normally wear shirts that say, education, prevention, STD. We really don't put HIV straight into our tent because, again, it's the stigma. Nobody's going to come to us. They're
Right.
going to say, hey, I don't have that.
Right.
So we kind of bring them forward when it comes to blood pressure. Things, if we can, we do games there and, try to get the community more involved.
and the results are given to the patients right away?
The results are normally given in about 3 weeks. We send them to the state of Florida or the Florida Health Department, and then the patient provides us with their name, their address, and their phone number. If the patient comes back positive, we will be informed. We have their information, and we'll be able to contact them. But we also, recommend, like I said, the other health screenings. Not only do I do HIV and STD awareness, I also do primary care. So, at the clinic, we're at Manny Medical.
And that's over at 151 Northwest 11th Street.
Yes, we are actually right across from the Mass Academy.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hey, Councilwoman Avila?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question with regards to the fair concept. I only see in your rendering, I only see your tent. So who else, and are you a nonprofit? Are you a registered 501c3 nonprofit?
We're registered.
Is it a 501c3 nonprofit? Or can staff confirm?
We're not yet.
Okay. And what other agencies will be at the health fair?
Right now, it's just going to be us, but the Florida Health Department does collaborate with us. They are aware of what health fairs we do. So they're pretty much, as soon as I get an approval for where I can set up the tent. I advise the health department, and they allow me to advertise it on their actual website.
And when were you planning to host this? What date? What
August
month?
27th.
August 27th. And have you reached out to Homestead Main Street to see if there were any upcoming events that you could tie into and piggyback on?
No, actually, I haven't.
Okay.
But that would be a good idea.
As much as I appreciate the services that are being provided to the residents, and as important as this, this effort is, I don't believe that we're currently set up for hosting pretty much a private entity style of an event. So, for example, and maybe staff can guide me, what keeps ABC Mortgage Company from using the plaza to do credit repair specialist counseling? If we're allowing one private business to do something, are we going to now be opening up the plaza for any private business to come and use it for their purposes under whatever umbrella of public service they want to do?
So currently, the use of the City Hall Plaza is on a case-by-case basis, and we've, been following the practice of bringing each use before the City Council. So at the end of the day, that's a policy decision by you all. If you tonight want to say, no private businesses, then we wouldn't bring a request like that to you. If you want to say, yes, private businesses, but it has to meet certain criteria, that's, again, another thing that we can use to guide what we bring before you all.
And since this was public health, I know we've had breast cancer screening in the past in the parking lot as well. I know during COVID, obviously, we had vaccinations, so we just wanted to give the council the opportunity to see, and whatever the policy the council wants to do, we'll go ahead and implement it.
That was my next question. In the past, the entities that we have allowed to use the plaza for services, including the breast cancer screening, or were they not registered nonprofit organizations?
That was FIU, so we say yes. We understand your concern, Councilwoman. We're just seeking direction from council here.
Would you be able to, was your intention to invite other local agencies to participate to make it more of a fair experience? Because it does seem to me that it's more of a private, use that you're setting up.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, August 6th, we are going to be participating with another health fair to try to get more people kind of involved with us as well. We're pretty new when it comes to the HIV and STD. So myself, I'm trying to reach out to the community, and yes, I do plan, hopefully we can get more vendors or more, this is what I want. I want more of the community to get together. And like you said, it would be nice if there was more of a bigger, something going on Main Street. We can all be together. That would be one thing that, would benefit the community.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to hear more from council.
I think someone else wants to chime in here, so give us your name and address for the record.
I'm sorry, council reference to your question as far as participate without a group. We will collaborate with the Department of Health of Dade County. We actually was looking for other areas, and they asked us to set up in Homestead because of the demographics that we need here. When we first set up August of last year, we let them know that we want to expand so we could get a bigger view of the community, like the shelter that we have for people, people on the street, because these are something, viruses or possible disorder that they don't know that they have. So what we did, we choose by choice to start at the building that we started now. The intention in the near future, we apply for a 501c. We intention also to purchase a property, with your approval, of course, on Campbell Drive, so we could have a bigger public so people can walk in at any time. Right now, we have people who walk into the clinic, and the first thing they say, I wasn't aware of this. What Dade County did, as far as you said, joining Dade County Department of Health, any information that we do, Dade County Department of Health want us to add it to their social website. And the last event we did in the community, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit liquid. Yeah, so We did in the community. They came over, I think the center was
City of Homestead Community Center.
City of Homestead's Community Center. They came us, they look at the program, they review everything, and they like what we're doing to make sure, because what we do is not only to look at the community, is to make sure the education, the training, and also we do what we call an aura show, which is a quick, which is just a slide of them out, and then that is then take to the Department of Health once a week. They review it, they send it to Tallahassee, and then what they do, once they get the report, if the report is positive, they get it back to us. We also, what we call, they let us to know to treat them right away. We have to draw the blood, get a confirmatory, and once we get a confirmatory, that patient has to be treated and has to be monitored. I'm happy to be in the community to do that because I've been doing it for 4 years in North Miami. And the success we have in North Miami, we got an average of maybe about 100 HIV patients detected per year. Since we started August of last year, I think we have about 3 detected so far, 3 HIV patients so far. So if we continue this in this community, we realize that we're gonna detect more, especially I noticed that the demographics, we have a lot of immigrants, illegal immigrants that not aware of this service, and I would love to service every single person in the community because I realize the benefit when out in North Miami. We still have that company, but we now have this as a sister company. So therefore, we want to continue that service here, and we're hoping to continue further north, all the way up to Kendall, Prime, Cutler Bay, and hoping to go further south. Because right now, according to Dade County, we are one of 2. Our specific is to HIV, STD, and any other type of disorder or disease. They want us to report it immediately. Our chain of command is the Dade County. Once we report it to them that these are our findings, they then report it to the state. And if it's discovered disease or disorder, they do what you call a tracking, just like they did HIV, COVID. Right now, a part of what we're doing, we also have COVID also. We do the COVID testing also. And in the near future, the Florida shots, if the virus continue, they want to involve us in the vaccine. We also have a director of the clinic. I'm sorry.
Would you not be interested in putting your testing site right in conjunction with our COVID testing efforts, where those people driving through to get a COVID test can also elect to get tested for what you're testing for?
Yeah, I would love that.
Because we already have a facility that's set up and running with people driving through that for those purposes. I think that that's a customer already seeking some kind of testing. They'd be readily and available. I'm all for the mission. I just don't know if our plaza, for a standalone testing site for a business, is what we want to do. So I'd like to hear more from council.
Well, the plaza, the reason we express, and please forgive me if I'm being long-winded. The plaza, we chose the plaza by site. Where we at now, a lot of people don't have too much of an access or can see us. Now, if we choose a facility on the main road, Campbell Drive, people can see us. Because that building, you have to go into the neighborhood off 177 to 2nd Avenue. We figured a way out to bring it to the community, we have to come from behind that area. Now, I agree with you. This is why I intend to get the facility on Campbell Drive, if I could, and we could do the drive-through. Now, this won't cost the city anything. As a matter of fact, the city will make taxes from this, if any, and it will not cost the public any funding because all this is free to the public.
You mentioned you were at the community center, the Homestead Community Center?
Yes.
Was that under Parks and Recs staff?
I'm assuming you all rented either the Dickinson? Yes. Yeah. So it was a rental. It wouldn't have come before you all. It was just processed as normal course of business.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Do you all charge for the services that you provide to the community, to the patients?
No.
No.
When it comes to HIV, no.
No.
Okay. So I noticed, I think Councilwoman Avila has a great idea because we've already got an audience going to Campbell Drive. Because what we're trying to prevent, or what her point is if we approve this for you, behind you will come an array of people saying, hey, you did this for them, why can't you do it for us? So obviously we try to keep the playing field level. And we don't want to do something that in turn is going to then put us in a bad position to say no to someone just because we said yes to you. I think the service is needed. I think it's great, but I understand my colleague's position. So when you started mentioning something about having a building, which we don't really need to get too far into that now, I guess what we want to understand is, do you feel comfortable being next to the pavilion on Campbell Drive next to the rodeo, which is where we currently have the site for COVID testing? Am I correct? At the YMCA. Would that be an alternative location from this plaza that you'd accept?
No, because where that's at, the YMC is more towards Killing Avenue, which is 177. Where we are at that building now, the building, the medical building is close to 2nd Avenue and 11th Street.
Okay, so you said that Harris Field is close to 177th Avenue?
Yeah. Well,
No,
if it's
the-
Harris Field, is west of 2nd Avenue. That I'm.
No, Harrisfield is here in Homestead, not the North Miami.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
sorry.
not too
I missed
familiar
that.
with the Homestead
Yeah,
part.
I'm sorry. I've just been here since August, so.
Yeah, Harris Field is on our main
is
main
off of-
artery.
Yeah.
It's off of US 1. So you're telling, so then can we collaborate there with putting ourselves?
No,
under the
what Councilwoman Avila is saying is, we would consider tonight having you guys locate there
That would
for
be
this
great,
event.
Because I know that people come through there, they get tested with COVID.
And not
and
just
then-
one time, maybe more long-term, if that's something that staff can help and coordinate. But while you consider that idea and let that marinate, I want to let you know that the South Day Chamber of Commerce is putting together their 2nd annual Health and Wellness Fair, October 15th, right?
advised us
So,
as
and that's going to be at Miami-Dade College, so you want to put that on your calendar and participate in that as a vendor. And I would encourage you to connect with the Homestead Main Street organization, which puts together the fairs and the different events in our downtown, and plug into those and maybe let them know that you're willing to take the leadership on organizing and setting up. If they provide you with the contacts, that you can take the lead on doing so. But that's how you create those partnerships and those opportunities where Homestead Main Street is full of volunteers, and they would love another volunteer that can do that. So, and in those cases, you're not just coming as a standalone medical office providing services that benefit your business. You're providing services to the community through a bigger umbrella, through a nonprofit, avenue. So I would suggest that maybe you continue the conversation with staff and with Main Street and of course with the South Day Chamber and see how we can continue to collaborate.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
So, I mean, it's still a city facility over there too, so it's kind of the same thing. However, what you're saying is the service that they're providing, we can take into consideration whatever other entities come up here, and we could say we feel a need, that the city has a need for what they're offering. So, but the plaza and Harris Field, the same thing.
Well, it's different. We're not designated a park here. This is just public space. And I'm going to assume, I'm looking to you all to tell me that there is a process for this type of activity to be carried out in park space without having to come before council.
So they could certainly avail themselves of a rental at Homestead Pavilion, the Harrisfield Pavilion there. Now if they wanted a waiver of fees, that would come to you all, but I know in the past, for things like these the council members will sometimes contribute towards the rental fee, from your own PR accounts if the applicant is unable to pay the fee themselves.
Zach, if I may, are we currently advertising or accepting applications for rental at the Harrisfield Pavilion, given the fact that we are doing active COVID testing still on site?
No,
It's not in
since
the pavilion.
May.
In the pavilion, but on the parking lot, that's where they're testing, right?
In the parking lot is where the testing is. The pavilion is open for rentals.
Has it been rented?
Yes, there have
since May?
been several rentals. I don't know if it's available for this date. We can check tomorrow morning.
And I wasn't even suggesting to be under the pavilion. I was suggesting to just add a tent in the line of tents for the COVID testing, so that you kind of just drive through and get extra testing. So I don't see why they would need to pay a park fee to be in the parking lot next to the COVID tents, if that's something that can be coordinated logistically.
Yeah, since they are not a non-for-profit, I think that's where the challenge comes in, right? If they already had their non-for-profit status right now, I think the conversation would be totally different. Once again, this was kind of unique, providing HIV awareness and STD awareness and assistance for the community. That's kind of how they got on here, but listening to council, if they are not a non-for-profit, they really shouldn't be coming to be asking for
Waiver of fee.
a waiver of fee or allowed to be in the plaza.
Or even a contribution from the various funds that council
Correct.
members have.
Correct.
Shouldn't be going to a for-profit situation. It would be entirely different if we were sponsoring a health fair that was being hosted by any given organization. But understand, this is a policy discussion, and it comes back to, as our colleague said, we let you go out here. How do we say no to the mortgage company that wants to peddle its services out there? And we can sit here and we can make that distinction that your health care, a vital health need, a need of the community, but for-profit is for-profit, and once we open that door and go down that slippery slope, it's an untenable situation for us.
And you're correct, Mayor. I think in this particular case, I think the best thing for them to do would either at the Dickinson Center rent one of the rooms or something, or at Harrisfield rent the pavilion, because allowing them just to put a tent up next to the COVID thing, and who else is coming to put a tent up next to the
Or have
COVID
them
thing?
start the conversation with Homestead Main Street and see how it can turn into
Absolutely,
something
they can coordinate.
more strategic. Would you be able to guide them into?
Yeah,
contact?
we'll put them in contact.
Okay.
Okay.
So staff will help you find a home.
Just wanted to make one last suggestion. What if they partnered with one of our local civic organizations? And then they do a partnership with a civic organization to be under the umbrella of.
That's what I was about to add, that you have my commitment to assist you with making some connections if you find that that's becoming a challenge. And I know you have a small window of time to try to plan it and put it together, but there are opportunities. So please connect with me, contact, get with staff first to follow those different avenues and see what come of that, and then let me know how I can assist as well.
And the last one I wanted to give you is potentially Miami-Dade College has a big parking lot. You might want to reach out to Miami-Dade as well, which they're across the street from the plaza.
Awesome. I got one question. The city of Homestead, what is the procedure with the Miami Department of Health? Because what you just said, that's what they also tell us. They can do the fair, and we just be a part of the presentation with them. We don't have to actually do it. So I just want to know the difference with the Miami Department of Health. They said they can do it.
Okay, so then Zach and Jerry can guide you on what would be the next steps to.
Yeah, the Department of, I'm sorry.
That's not how it was presented tonight.
Right.
So please, clarify those details, and then maybe we can give you direction between.
Whole different story.
We have a
if
council
we-
meeting next Wednesday, so
Yeah.
maybe that could be added to next Wednesday if the details change. But please brief us ahead of time. I don't want them to spend their whole night coming to a council meeting and then we're stuck on the same pattern.
Understood. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, it appears we've come to the end of the agenda. Mr. Pearl, did you have some items?
I did, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. If you'll indulge me for a minute, I need to request a few executive sessions. One in the matter of Tillery v. City of Homestead, case number 21-013373. One in Donati v. City of Homestead, case number 17-20561. One in the matter of Ojeda v. City of Homestead, case number 19-028441. And one in Miranda v. City of Homestead, case number 21-006250, all in Miami-Dade County.
Let's make it happen. Mr. Manager, anything further?
Oh, no, I'm spent. There's nothing else from staff here.
Nothing else. Our short agenda tonight. Anything further from council?
Yes, I just wanted to thank Camila and her team and Zach and all the people involved in doing the filming. It's not easy to coordinate all the individuals up here and tell us our lines and over and over and over again. But thank you for making it not such a scary experience, at least for me. Really? I was very scared. Oh, you were scared? No. Well, and congratulations, Camila. Thank you.
We have a motion to adjourn?
Real quick, Zach, could you just give us a quick update on how it's going with the garage rooftop?
That will actually be coming to you in August for consideration. We have received a proposal for the design and a construction cost estimate that we're going to let you all discuss whether you'd like to move forward.
Thank you for the reminder. I also wanted to talk with you, and I had brought it up last year at some point. I want to do a car show at the rooftop, and I don't think I need bathrooms to do it. So maybe we can do that in the meantime while we continue, but I'll bring that up to you guys individually.
You're going to need bathrooms.
Second the motion to adjourn.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? Any opposed? Good night, everyone. Thank you.